Hello, hello. I'm delighted to welcome you to the first public program event for this year's summer school. Maybe I should move away from the speaker. One of the most amazing things in this school is its public program. It's free and open to everyone who can kind of go through 36. And I want to say that people show up for the public program that they haven't necessarily, been in the radar of the architectural networks. And a few months later, after they've given a lecture here, they appear at the GSD or Columbia or the Bartlett, at the very least. We really pride ourselves to give a platform to amazingly radical practices, people who have something to say, something to offer to the disciplined architectural education. And this is exactly the case with Rita Adamo. I'm not going to try to explain what la Rivoluzione delle Seppie is. I'm just going to say that it is an amazingly complex practice based in Calabria, Italy, and that includes ways that the public can kind of come on board and understand design, space, rethink architecture, rethink urban structures in an amazingly radical and contemporary way. I am really happy that you kind of set the tone for the summer school. We are truly looking into practices like yours. Thank you for coming. We want to discuss what you bring to the table. And hopefully all of this is going to be part of the conversations that we're going to be having throughout the summer school. Rita, if you look at her webpage, I adore the way she describes herself, living between Nuya and fish and chips, this amazing Italian sausage that usually appears on pizzas and fish and chips. She is from Calabria. Her practice is there right now, but she did all her studies and finally her PhD at London Met. It's kind of literal and metaphorical that kind of brackets you between these two kind of food cultures. And I'm sure it will kind of connect to the Seppie eventually. So please join me in welcoming Rita. Thank you so much for coming. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Sophia. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I have done this a few times, but I'm always quite emotional a bit. So, especially in this context, I never thought I would present Le Seppie at the AA, but yeah, thank you. So, we started as a student workshop, and we didn't have any plan. We didn't know where to go in 2016. And so it was only a week of workshop, and then step by step every year kind of grown as a London Met student, architecture study. Actually, Estelle is here as well with me today. And now we define us as network. I don't know. Every time we change as well. I would say practice actually kind of nowadays after almost 10 years kind of define us better. But it's a group of different professionals, different students, also people from Calabria. I would say what we call local community, but in different sense, because there are migrants, there are the people like young people living in Belmonte. There is like local community in the different level. I would like to start before continues on my own with a video, because La Rivoluzione delle Seppie is started with myself as a student, but then we are different. Was different of us, and was Matteo, Giuseppe from Matteo from another student of London Met, Giuseppe from Orizzontale, was some professor at London Met. All these people also maybe now are not active. There are new people arriving later. But what I meant is like different voices that now are obviously, it's difficult obviously to bring everyone at the table. And I would like to show this video quickly. Maybe I'm not doing it the right way, but I hope it's working. This video is actually coming. It's a promo we did in 2020, so it's a beginning what you will see later, the Casa, which is our headquarters in Belmonte, so a lot of happened after, but it's still kind of showing the ethos of the project, so I thought it's important for that.
Giocavamo lì, in quel cortile lì. E io giocavo sempre in porta. È arrivata una pallonata dall'altra porta di là, e tiro un calcio, bam, va a sbattere alle sfere dell'orologio. Alle 2:25 si è fermato, non ha camminato più.
The project started with a call from students to come for a summer workshop. At that time, I think Les Seppie was maybe an idea, but didn't exist that much for us. We decided it's a great place in order for students to explore ideas and come back. So we took that on as a student project probably. And very quickly the municipality wanted a memorandum of understanding with us.
La cosa diciamo secondo me forte di questo progetto è proprio la fluidità con cui si sviluppano le cose, che all'inizio può sembrare caotica, può sembrare non chiara, ma che dà l'opportunità alle persone che vengono e partecipano di esprimersi e quindi creare ancora di più idee, competenze e progetti.
Quello che abbiamo pensato di fare è di costruire al lato della comunità locale una comunità temporanea che interagisse con questa comunità per provare a crescere insieme. È un modo di vivere questo spazio, di essere in qualche modo dei local temporanei.
Maybe this new space that I'm speculating on could be somewhere that's both permanent and temporary and doesn't define too much or differentiate between either too much, because I think if I'm coming here regularly then actually this is permanent. It's just less frequent than locals.
Siamo andati dal 2016, che eravamo in 13, al 2019, siamo arrivati a quasi 100 persone, studenti di architettura della London Metropolitan University, ma anche adesso di altre università, liberi professionisti da tutta Italia, migranti, accademici.
I think what we do in terms of working together and working with refugees and other associations and architects, I think that in itself is stimulating because you're working with people that are enjoying working together.
La nostra forza è proprio riuscire a mettere insieme tutte queste persone in posti come Belmonte, che sono di solito marginali, dove non c'è un welfare culturale.
Il lavoro in un piccolo paese che richiede tempo e abitudine è anche il lavoro di una costruzione di un interesse, di un'esigenza.
Stiamo vivendo la quarta rivoluzione industriale che sta cambiando tutto, cioè sta facendo un processo dal lo faccio per me al lo faccio per noi.
La costruzione dello spazio della casa è uno spazio fisico riconoscibile anche dalla comunità di Belmonte.
Una volta non c'era quello, l'asilo dalle suore. Ho imparato a ricamare là. La sala grande, che è stata aggiustata, facevamo tante attività.
Non è una ristrutturazione dell'immobile, ma è un intervento che la rende però sensorialmente abitabile.
La Casa di BelMondo, BelMondo è il nostro luogo immaginario.
È un concetto astratto che vuole oltrepassare quello che è la nostra approccio bottom-up dell'intervento architettonico, di comunicazione, ma lavora sull'immaginario per dare ancora più forza a quella che è una libera ed emotiva interpretazione di quello che si sta cercando di creare insieme.
Quello che è interessante è vedere come appunto delle azioni oggi, che sono stimolanti anche nell'oggi, possono diventare le fondamenta per un nuovo modo di vivere di domani.
So yeah, so this to give you an idea of the multiple voice that started and participate to the project, and so this is another group pictures of a different when we worked together on this platform that kind of started a project in the marina, because and then Sophia first will say what we do, and it's a kind of it's always in a different layer, different things. And what we actually say, we like to say we're operating in the void of the territories, which means what seems empty, what seems marginal, what seems left over is actually what it's a void. Is actually when we get there, we arrive. We define. We see that it's actually full of. There is people, there is energy, there are conflict, there is emotion, there is maybe ruins, building that needs to be restored. And this is how we try to, with the different profession, to kind of work and emphasize in a way more than, I don't know, usually, recently the word regeneration is something that I'm trying to avoid, because it's something that it's kind of just make clear what it was there, so kind of show that wasn't a void, basically, and trying to do it as a collaboration action. But to first of all, I guess maybe to quickly, it's not great. Maybe it's quite simple map. Sorry, if like architecture school, but so just showing where Calabria is south of Italy, and. What is it? Is the one of the thing? One is the is one of the poorest area of Italy, and this so we are not just working in marginal area in terms of like small villages, but we also the region itself is quite marginal, and based on this idea of Rodriguez Posandres, the revenge of the place that don't matter, which we are trying to kind of twist this idea where when he says this sentence, the study of this paper was actually we need to act before this revenge, before this happening, in a way that, in the way I see actually, is more like this revenge can be actually positive, kind of how we can actually see the critical point in a more as an opportunity, how we can get there and do something out of it. So Calabria looked like the most engaging place for being more open, more with a local community, with real people that we can deal with. And we started in Belmonte Calabro as a marginal rural area. But then now, since 2 years, we also work in the city nearby and in our urban periphery, which is the old town. So we kind of work in two voids. And the way we worked is like not trying to, as we said in the video, we're creating imaginaries. Sorry, my Calabria English is quite strong right now. One is BelMondo, one is CosMo. BelMondo, and I will explain through the presentation. So BelMondo is this imaginary that what Giuseppe says is more than a bottom-up approach, is to go beyond that through this idea of creating the building, which is the casa, but also to kind of bringing together the communities that are meeting, the local community, the permanent one, the one that lives in the village, but also all these newcomers that are they came with as a student first, but then also the people that beyond the London Met student arrived through the network of people that every year kind of increased. And what I make sure is that what I make you understand is that also Belmonte has all these villages on the shore of Calabria are divided in Old Town and Marina, and the Old Town is where we work. Has been having the first let's say phenomenon of the population. So this was the first kind of critical issue we found, and because all the people started in the 60s to go down in the Marina when this old with odd city were started to be built, and then after the 60s, and then this kind of boom of construction that happened in the 60s that was supposed to be the future, the modernization and blah, 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 actually didn't really work in the south with the boom of the Banca del Mezzogiorno, and they all kind of went to the north, and now people live also Italy, but this is another point. So these are the old town is quite empty, and while the Marina is a bit more like is where most of the people live, but it's quite ugly as well. And then so we started with this idea. So our approach, if we need to look back at the in the years, we like to describe like. From a chair to a room to a house. So it were the architecture project is almost directly. It kind of the scale of the project is kind of increased based on the trust we have with we kind of. Build up during the years with the local community, with the municipality, because we arrived in 2017 inside the village. Like in 2016 was only the workshop more in a private convent where they offer us this during the summer school. But then in 2017 we actually worked in the square, and we built up mainly those chairs designed by an horizontale. They were a kind of an exercise for us also to work as a collaboration public like this. What does it mean collaborate in a public way? And we defined the horizontale designed those profile that were prefabricated, but then how to put the wood in between, everyone can decide on the spot. And this is the way of bringing people together, but also not giving them a drawing before. Like the design has been decided together, and this is, I think, is a quite interesting approach, because then the architect doesn't give a rule to the people involved in the process, but also if in a bigger scale, for example, on this floor, then the drawing of the house came up later. So actually, as people that use the space, you can decide how to really define your space based on your need, and also the people that collaborate in the design on the building of this place. Like there were 80 people in this workshop in this building site. And there were around 30 maybe making this floor, and they were like thinking on each stone, and it's almost like they having now a piece of their life, a piece of their memory in this building, that they can always come back to Belmonte, basically having a second home. And then we say from the casa, from the room to the casa, the chair goes back to the square, because after basically this casa is a building that we managed to talk to after 3 years with the municipality, and now it became our headquarters, as I said, and it's a public space, and was achieved because there was a memorandum of understanding between the London Metropolitan University and the municipality, which was that the two institutions could agreed on having students agreed on the development of these villages by bringing critical mass, and the municipality giving this building. But the municipality couldn't afford to restore this building, And so would have waiting for a very long time before getting into the building, which was structurally strong, but not without any finishing like this. So at Seppie, Rivoluzione delle Seppie with Orizzontale, we proposed that every year we were coming back in the summer, we could do some intervention to do this, to be living in and start to use within all the people we were coming and going. And this is at least the first floor with our resources. And this was the first, this is how we kind of started to have this, we call it domestic building site. And so we started this in 2019, and we finished the first floor in 2021-22. We did the first 3 rooms in 2019. And then 2020, the COVID arrived. So we lived in the house in the second lockdown with also 10 students from London Met, working remotely, studying remotely. We did a crowdfunding, getting 20,000 euro, managing to we did the toilet first in one summer after the first lockdown, because we needed the toilet before live there. And then we closed ourselves in the second lockdown there, because London in a lockdown was better to live in a house without a toilet in London, basically. And then we wasn't that nice as in those pictures. And then we managed to crowdfunding, and then we managed to do the kitchen and the other 3 rooms. So 2022 was finished. I mean, was still a building site, but was sort of okay. And then 2022, this was at the end of 2022, then the garden. 2022, then we decided to go back in the village, because then this is how we didn't want to stay close in a bubble of the house. And that's how these are our Glocal tools. So it's like these tools that we define from our value, the value that we define from our action, and how we bring it back in the village. And then we define this was a temporary square. So these are kind of the temporary square we design in the village with a never finished market where with Orizzontale again, but also different people from London, like also Gaia and Carlotta came, Fritto Misto, Resolve was there, London Met student. We define this square as almost a backdrop of the beach. So whenever all the temporary community was there, all these prop were going around. But then when no one of us was there, basically this was the kind of setup. But it was only for 6 months, 1 month. Then it's kind of lasts longer, because the youngest of the village use it for kind of take over and use for making parties, like trap parties, something like that. And then those trap party didn't like, the community didn't like, was too loud, so we had to take off. And then together with that, we work with those other collective from Bologna that works a lot with posters and paper, and kind of wanted to start to have a different way of, because we were staying more, after COVID we kind of leave, now we are based there full time, was not anymore going and coming and going like we were before. So now we say how we can start to talk to the community as well, to the people who live in the village. Most of them are different background, different age background, different cultural background. Not a lot of them look at also Facebook and so on. So we started first with also with this big. So how we can tell there is a new square in the village. And all this, how we think about why we started, why we went also with the marina, why we are not doing something in the old town. We actually started to go into the marina because we thought the village was a bit too, especially after COVID, the village was a bit too romanticized. In Italy was all this idea of like, let's go back to the little villages, let's go back to the countryside, but no one really knows. It was more about this idea of living in those villages, romanticized, not like this nostalgic way of living in those places. It was not really like, especially government or touristic kind of way, like why those places are quite intense to live because there is no infrastructure, hospitals are quite far. There was not really a strategy to go back to those villages. It was just like kind of a very bumping, kind of very, very, more like advertising. While us living there since before, kind of knew a bit more. Like actually those villages that in Italy call it borgo, which is more the medieval, are actually a system that are kind of get so many other issues. So let's go through a bit faster. So we did a few weeks different event and party, and this is fritto misto on the beach. And that's it. And this was another intervention in the Casta. For the Biennale, we were selected for the Italian Pavilion. We're 9 projects in all Italy 2 years ago. And there was the renovation with Horizontale again. There was the renovation on the garden. It was again the way we work is mainly like through like they're doing the construction where we work with the community. And this was also with an artist that worked with the how to make this, because we always talk about how we want to make architecture alive. And in this way, with the artist, with the Arduino system, actually he made those how you call it, those tables and benches actually playing, so people could go there, touch them, and they were making sound. So this is where actually a kind of literally like alive architecture in a way. But also we started through different meeting with the community before they started to tell us that they are literally wanted to start this process of mapping all the herbs, like herbs around the garden. So we started with Art of Working Class, another collective from Berlin, an herbarium in the Casta that we still like. We would like to start continuous in all the village. So we start this herbarium with them. These are some examples that was shown at the end of this week. And now we come back. The Casa now has been, the municipality has been, we have been 1 year stopped in Belmonte. We opened 2 months ago. The municipality have now did all the services. Now we all of the services with permission, and another floor has been done, and the toilet has been, another toilet has been done as well. So we did 2 month residency. And we started to kind of work through a long-term program and looking back at the Glocal tools. And we've been building also on the top floor the sleeping place. So that's to kind of make this house even more open to more action, to more play, to more like a new faces. So this was there were people from different background also, and they were acting like this was the construction site for the building, for sleeping place. This was an artist working with looking at the woman killed in Calabria, and how to change the monument, very strong, like monument based on the monument in Belmonte that are quite strong, like the war monument with the name of those women, kind of start to change a bit so it kind of create a no monument around it, and start to feel like start to make a conscious about that, which in Italy, in Calabria especially, is a topic that we don't talk about a lot. And he also, and this was Galeazzo di Tarsia, is a poet from Belmonte that was quite violent person that has been always remind for his poetry, but never for what he did to those women. So he kind of also uses his statue to project the face of those women that have been killed, and while a local singer were singing those certain songs. So it was quite interesting to again go back into the city, and again once another artist interacting with the local women. But now we are still. Sounds like all nice, but we're still in a bit of a cosmogram. Like this is how we kind of trying to map ourselves, which is quite difficult. And this is a map that came up of this, but quite a mess that we are trying to come out of, and we are still not there. And don't know how I am with time. Okay, because I want to quickly. So this is BelMondo in a way. So. This is where we are. That's now that we need to really. That's where we're trying to be, like looking after these 9 years. We are almost the 10th year, and we really are now in a moment where we want to try to structure this, but I don't know where we're going, and I don't know structure is the right things. Is a very big fluid element, and maybe this is our strength, and we're really trying to understand how to give this strength, keep this strength, but also build up a more long-term program, which we never did in a way. I've been very honest, but somehow things have been developed quite nicely, even when I look back with you today. And at the same time, in the year that we had, when we had the year break, let's call it, in Belmonte, we started with, I say, Cosenza, CosMo. And Cosenza is more like is a website, or let's say a platform. I didn't test this before, I forgot, but I hope it works. Maybe I go quickly. What we did is it's Italian mainly, but I will go quickly on it just to give you an idea. So we won this funding application through the municipality of the Cosenza, was quite, which at the moment is working a lot, is having a big funds coming from Europe, and they kind of, so this idea was, these funds were about to, because they're working in the old town, which has been left there for 20 years. They're now renovating and starting, they really want to create a new narration of this place. Our application was about how to kind of give keep this, how to really help them to bring it outside the Calabria, outside Cosenza, but also bringing the people together that otherwise kind of go, in Calabria the cooperation is still not kind of known. And also, but again, how to understand that what they call void, are not void, because for example the old town that seems empty, we started before they start to do their work, and we found out there were, for example, already all these, for example, I don't know, artisan or I will show you later, but places, amazing places, or the other restaurant, like 5,000 people lives there. There are issues. There is like people. There is buildings that are coming down because of they're very old with people inside. There is fire, like people very poor. There are so many issues, but still, like, it's not an empty place. And what we did, first of all, we defined 12 quarters that are never been defined, that are being defined as a 12 micromondi, which means that this mass that have always been called Cosenza Vecchia, which is old town, but Cosenza Vecchia in Italian almost sounds as a bad thing, even if the translation in English is quite direct, are actually 12 boundaries in a way, even if, and they have 12 very clear identities, even if then part of the same whole, which is a CosMo, a world, like a world. And so what we did is like, doesn't go? Oh no, okay, now it goes. So for example, this is what I say, artisan, very beautiful corner of all very old buildings. This is another shop, a beautiful like libraries, another very old gallery, the theater. So after we started to define our place, define where we were, we started to work as we do usually, and started to know more the people, start to work in the territory, start to show start to make people understand also what they can do, what actually is the territory can offer. So we invite this. So we work with a local. First of all, we work with a local association that works with Romans that lives there in a quite poor situation, and we collect all the rubbish around this poorest neighborhood, Santa Lucia, and mainly with those youngest, mainly with the youngest, which they don't really love. They are quite. They were quite intense, but quite fun. And with the rubbish we collect, then we invite this artist from that we already worked a few times in Belmonte. He's educator and artist that quite often used to do this baracca case around Italy, and together with the children we started to. This was the spot that we cleaned this spot next to the houses of those those kids. And with them, we started to build this place. And for them was quite interesting because they needed a place to play when was raining. Also, some of them say to smoke, but this is another problem. And so they started to paint out their name and thing. And then after a few days, we're still in contact with them, and whenever we don't pass by, for example, they send me this message: "Io sono Francesco, quello della baracca. I am Francesco, the one of the baracca." So it's quite obviously like the problem there are quite intense, and you don't feel like you can give an answer to those problems. And if you see the area down there, it looks like there was and recently just in Christmas a building just collapsed. So, but it's just it's a beginning somehow. And then, for example, here we work with the restaurants. We work with the restaurant was the end, but we work with the high school to find a sign of the one other quarter neighborhood called Rivocati. We work with the high school and bringing all the association we mapped, all the restaurant and all the artisan there was, because this was the most, let's say, developed of the old town, because it's at the border with the new town. And then after this collection of ideas and things with the old school and a design studio from Naples that already did this in Naples, they developed this sign of Rivocati and then these 4 main elements came out. And then during a week we defined a screen print workshop that came up, where we came up with a flag and a scarf that now is around that the village. I call it village because they kind of act like a little villages, but then that now is kind of the people in the neighborhood. Kind of the shop has these little flags. The youngest bought the scarf as a stadium scarf, and it was produced by a local like a local design, like a local maker, like it's called Lanificio Leo, like wool maker. So this was a guy that was from a mechanic shop, And for doing that, we organize a huge dinner between all the hosts, because all the restaurants are all next to each other in like a bit like a small Trastevere Rome, if you know the area, but don't know. It's also close to a river. So with the Post Disaster is another collective from Taranto. They also were in the Biennale 2 years ago. We organized this 30-meter table with the how you call this in English now? Sorry again, this Calabria mind. The scaffolding, grazie. Scaffolding for 300 people, and but it was and all the you could go in the different osteria. They would have we set a menu that was made with the different plate. You can just go there, buy this plate, the 1 or 2 plate that we set up before, and just eat all together there. It was quite interesting for the city itself, but also for just seeing the street clothes and all this, and again a collaboration between all the neighborhood again. So, and here we are actually now in the middle of making a movie about the whole town, but with the with children that don't have families, with director that is from Cosenza, but is from this from since years in Turin with working outside, and this is because giving another way of looking at this is because we would like to give them obviously the skills, but also to give the city another point of view. So we gave them the iPhones, and they're filming through the iPhones, and we did a week of filming. The editing is on process, but the idea was also spending time with those child, like they are from 11 to 15, 16. They are basically living in a casa famiglia. They're living on their own. They're all coming from different situations, and there are 7 of them. And they was quite intense, but also quite different to see a place that you seem, especially because I grew up here, I born here, and I did until my high school here. It's so completely different to go around this with them. I don't know. It seems like visiting a place, walk around with them is completely another experience of also the building and the architecture. And the last one is another. So this is how we also experience those different places. So it's not anymore CosMo comparing to Belmonte. We don't have a physical place, but it's almost like giving the architecture. Bringing architecture alive through people, bringing people together in a way. And this last one is exactly like, because also in this one we had to interview a few people of the old town itself, and a part of obviously giving an opportunity to them, but also they give us an opportunity. And the last one is this is our little office basically, but by coincidence, which was the storage of my grandma, and this in the church next door. They usually always celebrate quite this saint Santa Rita, which we try to with another artist that is originally from Cosenza but quite live in Rome. We kind of worked on the idea of Santa Rita, but revisit it in a different through her studying in the Colombia, but also through the study in South America, but also through this idea of revisit the Catholic way of seeing the saint in the woman in very kind of always kind of see the woman in a more like stronger way, and but at the same time respect the symbols and the story of the saint. So this was what came up, but the strongest thing, and then we did an event where we made those rugs and a little flag, a little retablo, like the South American event, like South America kind of celebration. But so again, this little square, they're quite empty, quite kind of alive. through at the end of the week, but every day also people would come and stay there and enjoy. But I think what's important was also that when the Saint was celebrate 2022, the community come together to do again this big drawing with flowers that usually hasn't been done in the last 2 years because the community was not didn't like the new priest, but now because we did the drawing, they kind of come together again. So it's again so it's almost like architecture of relationship in a way. That's it. And now we are in the middle of other projects that are more more related to a relationship, the digital and less building, but still kind of working on places that are this in the different 12 sites. Thank you.
Well, if you think that I'm fishing for an invitation, I am. So I would say the first question is, how do we sign up? How do we join? What are the ways that people can be part of La Rivoluzione delle Seppie?
Well, before we were doing every summer a summer workshop crossing, more or less in this period, or no, a bit later. While now we are, since 2 years we haven't done it because of the transition moment of the casa closing and everything else. But now, so we still in this moment of understanding, but again, usually people email us and ask if they can join, and we find a way to, until we don't open up a call, if we organize something, and then definitely happy to, if there are more people want to join and help. But yeah, so there is different level there is to come, and you are welcome, obviously.
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and really exciting projects. I'm just wondering perhaps about sort of the aftermath. So I think very often when working with communities that are struggling, or I'm not sure the communities are themselves are struggling, or if it's the built environment that it has been neglected, you know, these types of projects, they show really kind of the potential programmatically. They very often also show the communities that there are many people who care, right, about those places. And so, but very often, I guess the aspiration is that the community kind of takes over it themselves, right, to kind of continue the project. So I wonder when you finish, or, you know, finish whatever that means, you know, but the moment that you do leave and perhaps move to another community or another village or another area, you know, have you seen already kind of local communities take initiatives to continue the work that you've started? You know.
I never left Belmonte, so I'm still there for this reason. And I started to move to Cosenza, but been in the two. So I guess, yeah, and still now in Belmonte, I'm trying to, for example, the square was a project that we said, the square stays if you can, guys, look after it. And it wasn't an option. But actually what happened was that because I guess we started to work on that, the market was seen. And so the youngest, I call it the youngest because it's mainly the, I don't like this name, but they're kind of mainly older people, started to do this party. Now actually after we dismantled, after it's again neglected, there is a local association that took a little room inside the market, doing activities, even if there's nothing there, has been again vandalized for a bit, and actually they had to clean again. But they use what is left a bit. It was a big table they are using, a few benches. We took some benches up to the old town. So at least has been seen, even if not as we left in the nice picture you saw, completely not. Actually the murales left. But so yeah, I know it's very hard to cover completely, especially in the small villages where the cultural background is quite different. What I see now recently, but still we worked since 3 years, we are doing Servizio Civile, which is civil services program. We're doing with again, people from 20 to 28 years old. Most of those people are coming because they don't know what to do in life. They don't go to university. They don't work. So it's quite hard through. Also because of, but step by step, they start to be involved. And part of our discussion is maybe Stedden continues to do only events that are like 1 week kind of come and going. It's more like how to set up programs that gives tools to this group that is kind of start to be start to have curiosity towards the project and start to use the casa, start to be with us, but in a more at the moment more without any structure. That's what I'm. So it's a conversation, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for sharing so generously. You were talking about architecture of relationships, and I always tend to want to work with friends or want to become friends with the people I work with. And I wanted maybe to know if you have some random or not so random advice for working with friendships and in designing these architectures of relationships.
Okay, it's been quite tough. And yeah, so in the last years, everything was around this. I mean, when I say relationship, I say around the thing that, because I always question myself in terms of architecture, as an architect or someone studied architecture, where was that I was building, and I realized that my role was bringing people together, and even with my, and sometimes I can also easily, as a Hindu person, like joking, also kind of break up quite easily. Like I didn't learn the diplomacy in England. That is not something I learned here. But at the same time, so that's what I meant by architecture, like more like as when you see that square empty and then filled with people, I think gives completely another feeling of the space. And this is what also really, I think I was always more interested through my studies in a way, more than how windows look like. That's what I meant. That's what I have kind of realized recently. But to answer your question, I don't know if there is an answer in a way. I guess it's depending a lot by your own way of dealing with emotion, first of all, and how you communicate. I think that is a big way. Like this is a big top element in everything within project, within friendship, and setting up also roles in a way. I guess this has changed a lot between what I learned personally. Between Belmonte and Cosenza. So Belmonte started completely informally as a friend group, growing and growing, and we had a lot of also fellows, because also we were learning by doing completely. That is our main, also what we are doing. This is one of our main tools. While Cosenza started a bit less bottom up in a way, because we want this fund. We started with a funding with the municipality, working next to the municipality. So there were some roles already defined. To be honest, this sometimes helps. Doesn't need to be that there is an hierarchy. Doesn't have to be that you have formalities. It's just that helps to create. I know where I am. You know where you am, and we can communicate better. I think. Doesn't mean, that's a different thing. That otherwise, sometimes there is confusion and you get frustrated, and that's how we collapse in a way. I don't know if that helps.
Hello. I was just wondering, where do you find all the funding?
Well,
I heard about the 20,000, but
so it was different things. We apply for a lot of application. We do a lot of application. I mean, for example, the Cosenza one was a quite big one. Was 150,000 euro. Then plus this helped us to get a connection that allowed us to have new sponsorship or new application. Then we apply for like a regional fund, national fund, European fund, or little local sponsor. The other good thing or bad thing in Calabria, I don't know, we don't have a foundation, like bank foundation, like we have in Italian fund. But for example, I don't know, like you see the scaffolding thing was completely donated for 2 days with with workers that help us for free from a constructors that did the job and was a technical sponsorship. So we kind of also try to find the ways through contacts that we kind of made up in Calabria through this year to kind of put the budget at the minimum. And to be honest, in the beginning, the main resource was people coming and helping a lot. But mainly a funding application. Like the residencies was Cultural Moves Europe funding. Now the European, the Piazza Mercato was Erasmus Plus with the London Met, was a lot of be able to make people come. But it's also this is quite but it's quite time consuming in a way, and a lot of time is also, and plus it's quite like you have to wait. It's always like you have to manage in a way that is, when sometimes you have it, then you maybe 2 months you don't have it, and then for 5 months you have it. So it's a bit, it's like a free, it's like when you're when you it's not stable income in a way. Bye Jane. Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to say thank you again. I think it's pretty amazing. We went from, the importance and complexity of actually building a toilet and saying now this is inhabitable, all the way to, how to talk to the municipality or the European Union to fund something that is weird and not able necessarily to belong in one category. Which I think is pretty amazing. I think it's also, we talked about collaboration within architecture, which it was a mandate for the summer school this year that all units that applied need to apply as a collective. So how tutors communicate with each other and create teams, how students would eventually become a team. I think these are themes that are central to what we're trying to do, and I think should be central to the conversation within the discipline, because we've hit the wall many times and went back, and I think it's the moment for those to be on the table. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing this.